Every person at least once in their life faces a serious choice. It is always difficult, but if you have made up your mind, go for it. Use all your courage, strength of will, abilities, and move forward, or keep standing still. But then the worst cannot be avoided. Therefore, it is necessary to make decisions without hesitation because sometimes it can be too late. Do you think a person can perform an operation on his self? Today, I will tell you an extraordinary story. Be sure to watch until the end. It will be interesting. No one can predict diseases. For example, an attack of appendicitis. In such a situation, a person immediately needs to call an ambulance and go to the hospital, where experienced doctors will do an operation. But what do you do when you're in Antarctica and there is not a single doctor around? This happened to a Russian scientist, polar surgeon Leonid Rogozov. In 1961, he studied Antarctica as one of the participants in a research expedition. Only a few people were with him, and for miles from the station, there was not a single city or even a small village. The researchers could only dream of an ambulance, and there was no ordinary paramedic on the team either. For some time, Rogozov had a bad stomachache, and he realized that it was acute appendicitis. The man felt worse and worse. In the city, of course, it would be easier. Doctors could very quickly help anyone. But what to do when there is simply nothing like this? Such a patient could be in despair because their situation seems deplorable and hopeless, and the person is afraid that everything will end very sadly. Leonid wrote down all of the events in his life in a diary where he wrote about his illness. Thanks to those records, we can be sure that this incredible story really happened to him. The acute pain tormented Rogozov for several days. He had a high temperature, and it was necessary to urgently do something, and the man decided on the most incredible option. He planned to do the operation himself, and his fellow researchers were to become his assistants. Is this even possible? No, absolutely impossible from any point of view. It is unrealistic to even imagine such a thing, but the inner strength of a person and his decisive attitude can work miracles. This case is 1 in a million. This is simply unthinkable and unimaginable. It is unlikely that anyone else would dare to perform surgery on themselves. Not every doctor could do this, even if this was their only chance to survive. On the night of April 30th, Rogozov started the operation. First, he injected himself with Novocaine for local anesthesia, and then he incised the sore spot with a scalpel. At the same moment, the experienced doctor was convinced that he was doing exactly the right thing because the appendix could rupture in just a few hours. Leonid had no instruments or sterile gloves. He did the operation by persuading 2 friends to become his assistants, meteorologist Alexander Artemiev and mechanical engineer Zinovy Teplinsky. One man had to give the instrument to the surgeon, and the other had to hold a mirror. There was another assistant nearby if something else was needed. Leonid Rogozov managed not only to operate on his appendix, but also to make comments about everything that was happening. The operation lasted for 1 hour and 45 minutes. The man completed the process, and only then did he take a sleeping pill and fell asleep deeply. Before that, he said warm and sincere words of gratitude to his assistants, without whom the operation would have been doomed to failure. 5 days later, Leonid's temperature finally dropped, and after a couple of days, he removed the stitches himself. But this is just unrealistic, any person would exclaim. However, in fateful situations, the instinct of self-preservation turns out to be stronger than any of the most reasonable arguments, and the mind goes over more or less suitable ways to solve the problem. Intelligence, courage, decisiveness, fortitude, and of course, great love of life are the head of everything. A person who does not have such traits of character and strong will is unlikely to be able to survive in a critical situation. However, Leonid Rogozov had iron character and determination. He did not hesitate, making such an important decision on which his whole life depended. The whole country learned about the unthinkable act of the talented surgeon. In 1962, the newsletter of the Soviet Antarctic expedition published an incredible story with excerpts from Rogozov's diary. Leonid Rogozov did not participate in expeditions anymore after that. At home, he became interested in science. He defended his dissertation. For 14 years, he worked as the head of surgery. In the same years, he brilliantly performed operations in several Leningrad hospitals and taught future doctors. Students sat in his lectures with pleasure. In 2000, Leonid Rogozov left this world. His incredible operation is a unique case in the history of all medicine in the whole world. Nobody else has dared to do this. If you liked the story, share it on social media and click like. Until next time.